Hi, I'm Nioh. Just downloaded the game yesterday and it's super hard but satisfying. Just curious, what tips would you give a beginner like me to get a better hang of the combat? So here's one of the biggest things I would recommend players to do if they're just starting out. There's two major dimensions to gameplay. There's of course your weapons, which will use all your ki, right? And learning how to manage that ki is of course very important. So you have tools such as Ki Pulse, of course, which you'll want to learn. Eventually you can start getting spicy with flux, which is basically you switch to a different stance, and if you do that on a ki pulse you get ki back. But I won't go too much in depth with this, but basically there's learning how to use your weapon, learning how to use the stances, learning how to use the ki pulse and things of that nature to maintain your ki. So that's like one big aspect of gameplay that I would recommend you focus on. The second thing I would encourage you to do is get comfortable with the new dimension that is added in Nioh 2, which are these things you can see over here called the yokai abilities. So you'll get a bunch, so you probably have one of these 3 starting spirits. For example, if you took this one, you might get a skill like this. So I would encourage you to use these yokai abilities, which will use your purple bar. So you've got your green bar, which is ki, and then your purple bar, which is anima. And I would encourage you to use these yokai abilities regularly. Don't necessarily try to save up your purple bar all the time. One caveat is keep it above like 1 anima so that you have the option to burst counter at all times. But definitely make a habit of using your yokai abilities. You don't want to necessarily all the time keep your anima full, your purple bar full. And here's why I say that for combat flow. Let's pay attention to my ki. I'm going to try to deplete it as much as I can. Alright. Now look at my ki regenerating as I'm using a yokai ability. So even if you're not perfect with all the ki pulses and stuff like that, you can use a yokai ability, and during that animation, you will get ki back. And so what can happen in a simple way to put it is, use your ki, of course, to deal damage, use your weapon as much as you can, and then that'll help you gain some anima, just by virtue of hitting an enemy. And then with your anima, use it to help you regenerate ki, just as a byproduct. And then you can kind of just like go back and forth and manage your yokai abilities, manage so that you can do a lot of damage, a lot of more power, full output of that, and then use those in conjunction with your normal active skills. And then once you can work with those 2 dimensions, your combat flow is going to go really crazy fast. So I'll just show you a sample of what is possible. So that's one example. And there's another example as well. So yeah, I'm using both dimensions. I'm of course being very creative with my gameplay, but I'm doing a lot of back and forth in terms of I'm using lots of attacks and I'm using lots of yokai abilities, synergizing them well together to come up with all sorts of creative options that you could see there. I hope that helps.